What happens when that thing you built your life around suddenly disappears and you have to find something new that gives you that same fire? Today, Dana Lattery shares what this shift looked like for him from pro hockey to the Bow River and how that same drive to compete, adapt, and solve problems shows up every single day on the water. This is the Wet Fly Swing Podcast, where I show you the best places to travel to for fly fishing, how to find the best resources and tools to prepare for that big trip, and what you can do to give back to the fish species we all love. Today we're going to find out why the Bow River fishes like a mix between a freestone and tailwater, and how this changes Dana's approach on a daily basis. We're going to hear about these small decisions that most anglers miss and how you can show up on tough days. And also we're going to get Dana's team and how they share their daily intel. We're going to talk about this team atmosphere and mindset. Really interesting conversation today. And we're going to get into a little bit of fishing, a little bit of higher level. We're going to talk podcasting. Plus, Dana has Thursday Night Live, this amazing fly tying YouTube session and series. So if you want to check that out, definitely we'll have links to the show notes for that. All right, let's get into it. You can find Dana at flyfishingbowriver.com, or you can connect with him on social. Here he is, Dana Lattery. How you doing, Dana?
I'm great, Dave. How are you?
Good. Great to have you on the podcast. We are going to talk about the Bow River, which is a water I still haven't fished. I'm hoping that that's going to change this year. We connected Backcountry Skins, Kelly. We connected recently. I've run into him at a few shows over the years, and he put me in touch with you. And I'm excited to talk about the bow because it is a unique fishery. I think, definitely up in your part of the world, it's got a lot of stories, right? A lot of history. So we're going to get into that. But maybe just start us off the top. Have you been doing the Bow River thing for a while? How did you come into, being an outfitter up there?
Yeah, so surprised you haven't fished the bow. I know you've had some pretty high-profile names from up here on the bow and some legends. So that's cool to also see and hear. So the bow for me was a place of kind of a happenstance. So I came off a professional hockey career, and in 2006, I got injured. And you kind of, when you play hockey and that's your sole purpose in life, you don't really tinker in a lot of other things other than maybe golf. And then when I got hurt and kind of was going through surgeries, trying to get back to playing pro again, it's where I started going down to the river and sitting on the river and just, more so the people who find peace and solstice and just sitting by a river, which I would see lots of people floating by in drift boats, and started to understand kind of what the Bow River was and what the Bow River is. And a couple of years after that, I was, big into waterfowl hunting and had a dog and a gun, and I started guiding that. And through the connection I made from waterfowl guiding, that guy was also a fly fishing outfitter, and he was trying to encourage me to spend the last 3 months I had to myself into guiding more, but into the fly fishing side of things. So I'd never actually floated on the river before. I'd fished a lot from the shore and found out quickly how difficult of a stream or a large body of water that the Bow River was. And got to go on my first float trip, and I was like, well, this is how you do it. And I have I don't know if it's an addictive personality, but I have an all-in personality. And so when I find something I like, I quickly love it. And I was like, man, I just want to learn everything I can. And the parallel with hockey was, I find, and we can all attest to this, that fly fishing is it's a puzzle. Every day you go out, it's different. And I think that's the allure for a lot of us, is that drug of trying to, I guess, win or solve a problem. It reminded me a lot of hockey and trying to perform and trying to be the best I could be. And it became this new challenge in my life, which quickly became, me on the river every day and getting better at the craft and the boat, and slowly working myself into guiding. I spent 8 years working for a couple different outfitters. And, I think becoming an outfitter was never something that I set out to do. But, there's just a few things that kind of push you into taking that leap. So we started Fly Fishing Bow Over Outfitters in at the end of 2018, and I liken it to hockey because we have a team. There's 8 of us guides here, and I just love that team mentality coming from a sports background, and it's like, and I wanted that when I was guiding, and I just felt like everyone was so out there for themselves,
Right.
which is fine because that's their. I mean, they don't have to. But in like starting, my own outfitter was like, I want a team and I want a brotherhood and I want a group of, my new best friends to also be guides, and we can all spend our summers together, share information, make each other better people, make each other better on the river.
Right.
And that's what we got. And it's really a special thing that I do not take for granted.
That's sweet. Yeah, it's really cool. There's I think, my background, I guided, way back in the day. Basically, it was me and my dad. My dad had a shop and stuff. And I feel like we were kind of, we would have been better off if we would have had that team, more people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like we were kind of doing our thing and it was fine. But, you know what I mean? Just I can imagine having a team of people doing, probably tweaking things and doing things a little different, and then come back at the end, just like a game. Like, all right, how'd you do? And everybody's like, oh, man, this, right? And so, God, I could see how you could quickly become a much better angler with that, right?
Well, and it's like intoxicating because, I mean, there is some cruxes to it where sometimes you might get into your own little, you don't get out of the box enough. You're too much in your own group. But, we challenge each other to think outside the box and don't always, so what we do at the end of every day is we have a shared journal app, and everybody puts in their river report. So, we're on the river 6, 7, 8 guides, but we're getting that much information every single day. So if a guy wasn't on the river today, he comes home and he looks over it all, and he goes into tomorrow, and it's for our clients to make them have a better day. And all of these resources pooled together to make you a better angler, make you a better guide, and ultimately just giving that experience back to our clients.
Makes sense. Yeah, and the hockey background too makes sense because I think any professional athlete has to have some of that, obsession, right? Obsessive compulsive, right? To get to that level.
Yeah.
What was your, what was the hockey, what were you doing there? What was your position? Who were you playing for? How long were you in the league?
Yeah, so I played up in Canada for junior. When I was 20, I got a scholarship, so I went down, played NCAA Division I at Western Michigan. I was there for 4 years, and then out of there, I signed with Calgary, which is a local team in the NHL, and then the infamous lockout hit.
Oh, no kidding.
So yeah, all of a sudden it's your time, but there's no NHL. So that was a weird. I feel bad for myself.
Right.
But I also feel bad for all the other free agents and draft picks and stuff coming out into pro that year. So yeah, I went down and played in Vegas for a bit, and then I went up and played in Salt Lake City, which is the farm team for Phoenix, and then I went over to Providence and played for a bit with Boston's farm team, and yeah, and then that summer I destroyed my knee on a wakeboarding accident, and yeah, I spent 2 years trying to go back to rehab, and it just never.
Yep.
I think you realize at that point, and I, you got to take accountability for yourself and say, okay, well, my complaint is that it's a meat market, and once you're not a high value product anymore, they don't want to invest in you, which is fair. It's their money. It's not my money. But that was a hard reality to realize that you're not probably getting back because you're kind of damaged goods.
Yep. Wow. That's pretty intense. You got everything, right? The lockout, and then you come into an injury, and it's such and that's all it takes, right? And you hear some of these stories, right, about kind of at that level, it's these, and then also the head game too, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you get out, but the cool thing is, I guess I look at now you're in this place where you're doing good things in fly fishing. You've got this great program. Do you look back on it and say, wow, it's hard to say an injury is a good thing, but do you kind of look back and say, oh, this is pretty cool what I have now?
Yeah. So, right, probably 2010, 2011, and I was just getting into fishing guiding, and I had been waterfowl guiding. My old junior hockey team, which is up here like 16 to 20-year-olds. It's kind of the age group where the kids are waiting to get scholarships. They came and asked me if I wanted to come and coach, and I was like, oh, wow, here's a chance to get back in. And but I was afraid because I knew, like I said before, that all-in kind of personality. Right. And I remember going up for a practice, and I mean, I'd been off for like 3 years, and I was like, I don't remember, like, do coaches bring sticks on the ice? Like, I just had this weird synapse gap of what took place in my previous life. So long story short, but I got back into coaching or I got into coaching, and I felt like, oh yeah, here I am again. I'm back. This is my purpose. This is where it's all going to be. And I'm going to, progress and move on. And about 4 years into that, I in practice took a puck in the eye and I went blind in one of my eyes. Jeez. And I was like, well, I'm not sure that this is really, to reference a biblical story. It's Jonah and the whale. I feel like I kept, walking into the whale there. God. And so the 2 injuries, pretty serious. But then, like, you asked that question, do you look back and think, is an injury a good thing? And I think it's not a good thing, but it's how you define it. And so I can't stop that. I can't go back, and no matter what I do, that I cannot reverse anything. But what I can do is, make the future better. So I look at it now and I'm like, I am right where I'm supposed to be. And I'm 100% extremely happy. I love the guys around me. I love what I get to do, the people you get to take in your boat, the parts of the industry that we get to impact. I just feel like, you are right where you're supposed to be. Whether you like it or not, you are. And, how do you move forward with it?
Yeah. Do you still follow hockey? I know for me, basketball was my sport, and it was kind of my life and everything. And I've pretty much, come out of it. And but I still enjoy watching it. You know what I mean? If I see a highlight, I still love, because I know it so well. Yeah. Do you still follow hockey? Do you keep up on
yeah. Yeah. I found the first few years, I just took a break because all the guys you played with are, the ones in the NHL, and you're like, well, that should have been me. Yeah. So it was just kind of a bitterness. But yeah, I just become a fan.
Yeah.
I don't want to admit it.
Right.
But there I am watching hockey till midnight right now because playoffs are on, and it's amazing.
Oh, no kidding. I know. I find it's kind of crazy, right? Sports is, I don't know what it is about sports. I think it's the same thing you said. You kind of, it's this, you never know what's going to happen. That's what's great about sports. Every game is like, wow, you don't know, something amazing could happen, right? And
think of the Frozen Four, and who's the team, and I think the Final Four, Frozen's hockey.
Right.
They shot the basket with like 1 second left and made their way to the final. It's like, that's why we love sports, because you just never know. You're almost never out of it. And
yeah, that's cool. Well, I mean, it's funny because fly fishing, it's hard to compare. I mean, it is kind of a sport in some ways, but it's a little different, right? But I mean, what you do now, I mean, talk about that, the Bow River. You guys, are you exclusively focusing on the Bow? Is that your kind of daily, weekly program?
It's pretty, very heavy on the Bow. I think we do guide a lot of other streams around the area. I think the draw to the area is the Bow. We have some very good cutthroat streams, super fun walk and wade type stuff. I find that people become addicted to a drift boat because it's easier for an angler.
Yeah.
And although the Bow River's a very difficult fishery, we can cut that in half with a drift boat because we can get off the shore. So we do spend a lot of our time on the Bow, but we do also go to other areas around here, but primarily it's the Bow. Yeah.
Yeah. The Bow, it's a big river, right? It's a tailwater. It's pretty technical. It sounds like I feel like, the river that my home water, the Deschutes, is a big river. It's probably similar, maybe similar in size. I'm not totally sure, but you can't fish out of a boat. They made that regulation. So fishing off the bank. Yeah,
you got to stop and is that how it works?
Yeah, you got to stop and get out and fish. And it is tough. There's places where, man, it's tough. So it sounds like you started out kind of doing some of that, but and you got into the bank, or you got into the boat. But where are the other places other than the Bow River? Are there these kind of hidden secret little gems out there, or do you have to kind of go up in the mountains when you're doing this walk and wade?
Yeah, so the first kind of like misnomer is that people, well, so, we call, like, Calgary's such a byproduct of people going to Banff. So they got to land in Calgary and they got to go to Banff, Canmore, which is like the mountain town and what everybody sees on Instagram and travel videos. Whereas if you were to go to like fish on the Missouri, you don't accidentally land in Great Falls and, accidentally go to Craig, Montana and fish on the Missouri. So they're getting anglers who are intentionally going there. We get a lot of people who are going to Banff and then they want to try it. So it's, kind of like a gondola rider. It's like, it's an activity for their family to do for that trip to Banff. And it's like, okay, so now the misnomer is that the headwaters of the Bow comes from up at, Bow Glacier, which is just kind of northwest of Banff. It flows through Banff and it comes through Canmore and then it works its way kind of through the foothills down into Calgary. And then as it kind of gets 2/3 of the way through Calgary, that's the Bow River that everyone hears about. Now, the misnomer, the upstream, the upper Bow River is beautiful. It's in the mountains. It's what you want to be the river that you hear about, right? Because you've got, it's like in Jackson Hole, like you've got the Tetons, you've got the Rocky Mountains, you've got the beauty, you've got the scenery. We just don't have the fish up there. It's almost in that glacial till the higher you go, and the nutrient level is just not there. Now, there is fish, and it's kind of a fun little place to go. But the Calgary stretch, and then people think, well, I don't want to fish in the city. Well, it's not in the city. It's just on the edge of, Calgary's a big landmass, and what we would consider the suburbs is kind of where it starts. And so why it's great, which I'm sure other people have told on this podcast, is because of the water treatment plant, and it pumps so much nutrients into the river, and you can literally see the color change. It's like above it, it's kind of like more aqua teal, and then when you go past the water treatment plant, it's more of this like green, fishy, nutrient loaded, and you're like, and then you start to see this profound fishery and the magic that it is. So the upper stream, all this to say, is not where we walk and wade.
No.
Further in southern Alberta, we have some freestone, we got like the Castle, we got the Old Man, the Livingston, the Racehorse, the Crow's Nest, and they're kind of all around in that, what we'll call like the Crow's Nest area. Great cutthroat streams, some good bull trout fishing down there. And yeah, so it's got the mountains, it's got the scenery. You cannot float it, it's not big enough. But that's where we spend our time if we go on foot.
Trout Routes by Onyx is built for fly anglers who want better intel without spending hours digging for the information. You'll get access to public land maps, stream access points, regulations, and even road and trail maps all in one place. It's become my go-to app for scouting new trips. You can check them out right now. Go to wetflyswing.com/troutroutes and download the app today. Do you have, and you must have a mix of people that you got the people coming for Banff, but then you got the people that are hardcore anglers coming in. Is that kind of a good even mix, or is it?
Yeah. It's probably, I would say it's, right on that 50-50. Honestly, I just love new people. Like there's a love for both, and, to get someone in your boat that they can fish, and you're like, okay, well, let's go try, these things. But to also have somebody in your boat who's never held a fly rod, and you just get to relive your first moments through them because you're watching them learn to cast, and you get to teach them, and you watch them, hook up and land or lose a fish, and all that excitement that comes with that is also really cool, and it kind of keeps you grounded.
Yeah, definitely. What's your operation on the bow? Are you guys doing? You got that section right through town, the popular section. Describe that maybe for, again, what makes it special. It sounds like it's the size of the fish, the number of the fish. How is it kind of different than maybe some of the other areas, around the country?
I'd probably say the first thing is the fight of the fish. The rainbow trout, when they were stocked, are kind of a strain of steelhead. And it's actually fascinating. So we kind of forget, we get a little numb to it, and we watch clients hook up and, get spooled on a fish on an 18-inch rainbow trout, and it's like, oh, why'd that happen? And then, you go out and fish and you hook into one of these and you're just like, yeah, they're all that. Like,
Yeah.
you kind of have a new respect for people losing fish, and then you go fish in other places, and it's like they just don't have the fight that the Bow River has, and it's yeah, it's maybe a subtle brag, but it's like we don't have the numbers that the Missouri has, and that's okay because it's like that quality over
Mm.
quantity, and I love the Missouri. We go there lots, and it's got phenomenal quality. It just seems like every fish on the Bow is just that. It is, so many people get their fish of a lifetime. They get their personal best brown trout, rainbow trout, um, and I mean so yeah, it is the fight of the fish, the quality of the fish. Some days you feel like there's 5,000 fish per mile, and some days you feel like there's one fish per 5,000 miles. And so,
It can be that way. So it can be pretty
yeah,
technical. Things can get is that
yeah,
would
they
you
just,
consider it pretty technical tailwater?
so it's interesting because I will consider the Bow River the most freestone tailwater that you probably ever will fish. And what that means is it's technically a tailwater because it comes from a dam, and the flows can be somewhat mitigated. But the other thing is the city of Calgary has, I don't know, say 500 storm drains. So when it rains in Calgary, all of that street concrete rain goes in the culverts down to the drains, and it goes right into the river. So there becomes your freestone, right? You get rain and it goes boof and it blows out.
Gotcha. So it does. So it hits. So this river doesn't just stay stuck at 4,000, some cubic feet level. It goes up and down.
Yeah, and it's one of the things about the river that when it bumps like that, honestly, just stay home because
Not
it
good.
just, and so that bump comes not just from the dam, like it's like, oh, the dam's holding steady at whatever, and then you look in town and you're like, oh wow, it just chugged, like it rained last night and it went from, well, recently we just got a huge snowfall and it was like, it went up like 30% overnight, and dirty, right? Usually those bumps come with a lot of dirt just because it's that. So it is a unique spot but that's also aids in your favor because it's pumping a lot of worms. When it rains, the worms come up and they're just getting thrown into the river. So in the right conditions, those, little higher dirty waters, and you got an overcast day, can be your absolute, your best fishing day, your biggest fish. Like that is when people see a fish that, yeah,
Yeah.
magical.
After the bump. So the bump is you don't want to fish when it's bumping big, but then once it drops back down.
Yeah, once it kind of like gives some sort of like steadiness. So on the Bow, dirty water and high sun is like not your friend. Dirty water, cloudy skies, raining a bit, just that grungy kind of feeling is like, please go fishing on those days because that is the magic. So the question was, is it technical? It's not, and because of tailwater. So are we using like 11-foot leaders and are we using size 22 midges? No, I think it is not technical in that aspect. We're using 3x leaders, and for most of the season, you're using 3x, maybe 4x tippet. Big flies, you're using size 14 nymphs and 16 if you got to. Dead drift leeches. There's just a lot of big bugs that we use, but the technical part is that the river will just die. Like the fish just stop eating and nobody can find the fish. And I think because of the tailwater aspect that they get to eat all year, there's not a real driver for. Whereas if you go to the mountain streams and they're only open for a few months and there's a hatch, like that is food. On the Bow, it's like, yeah, we've been eating for 10 straight days and today we don't need to eat, right?
Right. Yeah, I
So
gotcha.
that's where it becomes technical or it bites you and you're just like, and it sucks guiding those days.
Yeah, so you have those days that are tough fishing out there.
Oh, yeah.
How do you tweak it when you're on one of those days that's a little challenging? And, how do you tweak your normal routine to maybe find that fish?
Yeah. So there's a lot of ways to change tactics and probably not one answer. I guess I will say what I think, my personal opinion, is one of the biggest crimes that people do on the Bow from a drift boat is constantly change flies.
Yeah.
So, 30 minutes, no fish, they change a fly and they move on and they change. And it's like the bow has like an on and off switch. And when it's on and you've gone 26 degrees away from the proper flies because randomly today you thought this was going to be the fly that's never worked before on the bow, but maybe you're going to figure it out. And now the flies that should work that you started with, because you've been on this river enough, in the last 10 days to know that's it. You're not, you've missed the boat because you've been changing flies. So I see it a lot. And I think with experience and confidence, it's like stay the course. If you do want to change flies, you have to go back and fish that same run every time you switch a fly. Otherwise, your data is just useless, right? Like, you want to row up this run 20 times and change a fly every 3. Yeah, then that's good data. But to just keep going and pulling over and switching a fly and pulling over, it's like it's probably not going to be in your favor.
Yeah. What does it look like throughout the year? I guess, are you fishing this? When are you guys getting going strong on the fishing? Is this more of a like after spring or summer, or is it year round?
Yeah, so we'll we've already been out. March, if March is nice, it can be a really good time to fish the bow. April is, which is right now, it's ish good. A lot of things are going on in the river, so rainbows are kind of leaving to go spawn, and the brown trout are now taking over these, rainbow-less lies, and it's like, so this activity level is a lot is happening. You're getting ground melt, so water's getting, colder, dirty, then clean again, and then there's just a lot happening. So May kind of starts busy for us. We run a guide school, so we have 2 classes in May, so that'll be first week and third week of May. And then in between that, we're, very busy with guiding, and June's busy. June is typically our mountain runoff, so this year we have a record snowpack, so who knows how that comes down. It could hurt June. It could be fine if it comes down at the right pace. And then July, August, September are the busiest months. October's kind of, it's a good time to fish. You just don't get a lot of people. And then, like November, December, January, February, you're hibernating.
Yeah, you're hibernating. That's right. And so that's cool to hear you guys, especially with the West. We hear a lot of the stories about the low snowpack. You guys have a good snowpack.
Oh, it's like beyond records. It's wild. Yeah, like we have snow. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's basically that might mean the flows might be a little bit bump or higher throughout the year, but it's a good thing, right?
Yeah, and honestly, it's funny because it's a conversation that not a lot of people like to talk about, but there becomes a man problem versus a nature problem, and we've always had pretty good snow. It cycles. I look back and it's like, wow, 5 years ago we also had this snowpack, and 5 years before that, and 5 years before that we flooded because we had an enormous snowpack.
Mm-hmm.
But the man issue is that the dam that controls the water is a power dam, and so that company questionable about how they're dumping water to make money, and the fish are kind of because the fish aren't native to the streams, they don't get quite the protection that native species do. And so there's that huge conversation that is constantly under the breath of many people. So the last couple of years they have managed the dam perfectly, and the water has come out as it should. And what do they do this year? We just don't know, which is hard to kind of run a business around because you can't predict anything. And and the other thing is, like, we'll be perfect conditions mid-July, and you wake up and you go guiding and you check the flows, and they've doubled overnight for no reason. There's no rain, there's no snow. It's just, maybe price of power was high and they decided to make some money last night. And now you just know you're like, the clients are not going to catch, like, it's going to be a tough day, and it just sucks, right?
Yeah, it's interesting because I haven't, some of these, it feels like the stability is a good thing. And for the most part, that's been my experience. But there are some rivers like the White River in Arkansas.
Yeah,
right? They jump way, and the fishing is amazing up there. It's probably a totally different system, right, than what you got.
Yeah.
But that's kind of
That is a rarity.
yeah, right. That is a rarity. So you got that, but it makes sense. And then the other interesting thing is, how important the fishing and just the economy of the outdoor, right? Is you would think that the cities would understand that and be like, wow, fly fishing, this is a pretty big thing. I mean, do they realize how big the Bow River is to the rest of the world?
To be honest, if you, um, well, not half, but like 90% of people who come here, and they at their hotel or at a restaurant, and they're telling people like, yeah, we flew in from wherever and we're fishing on the Bow, and people have no idea. It's actually alarmingly shocking that, it's a big industry. I don't recall the impact, but it was like, probably in that $5 to $10 million industry, which, it's big. It's not as big as some of the ones, but
Yeah.
nobody knows. And oftentimes we'll be on the river fishing, and people will come by in a raft and they're like, what, is there even fish here? Like, just
right.
no. Yeah. So but it goes back to that, what I talked about before. It's like when you go to the Missouri, like that's why you're there.
Yeah.
So this is just such a, like, just so it's a city, and like how many rivers in the world that flow through 1.5 million people city are actually, blue ribbon trout streams.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, no kidding.
They're not.
They're not, exactly. What is let's take it to, let's take it to the summer. You mentioned a couple. Let's just start kind of in July there for a second. What does that look like as far as hatches? Are you guys focusing on a mix of, dries, nymphs? What's your typical, kind of program look like?
Yeah. So, June is kind of the PMD hatch, which we don't, you're lucky if you get it because it's usually runoff. So it's hard to like say this is, we're going to come fishing for that, but it's there and it happens, back up to around mid-May is Mother's Day caddis. And when that happens, like, we had a few days last year, which was, can go down in forever as one of the greatest dry fly fishing days ever. July, we start looking for golden stoneflies. They're nocturnal, so they hatch overnight. And so when we go after that hatch, we're trying to get on the river at like 4:30 in the morning.
Yep.
So it's not for everyone. It's also been hit or miss. So I tell people, if you want to try it, they're out and it's happening, but it could not happen tomorrow. And the other thing with that is those flow bumps. So when you think about the stoneflies hatching on the rocks on the side of the river and the flows go up, it washes out that hatch, right? Because they're, inches from the river. And so, yeah, you just didn't happen last night and there's no way to really know. So yeah, that's fun. If you get on that and, between like 4:30 and 9 in the morning, you've already had like 25, 30 fish hammer on your big stonefly. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So it's been harder to predict over the years, but it's funny because when you see the hatch, when it's everywhere, it's not fishing well. When we barely see the hatch and we go out and we just do it anyways, those are when I've seen some of the better fishing days. So I don't really understand the correlation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, streamers, nymphing is your most productive way. Worms and leeches are very common. You get caddis kind of sporadically throughout the summer. And then you get your trichos, should be like early mid-August.
Okay.
And that's
yep. How's that hatch? Is that one? Are a lot of these hatches kind of hit or miss, or are there any that that are just definitely you can count on a big hatch up there?
I think the trichos or tricos, however people want to say
trichos,
it. Yeah. It is a very prolific hatch. It's kind of like I don't remember seeing a year where I'm like, oh wow, where are they?
Right.
Last year it seemed like it came quite a bit later than normal, but I think it's also the most technical hatch because big fish are eating right along weed beds. And why that's a problem is because the weeds they mess up the current. Like, so it's like you're getting a cast and this is where you get technical on the river. It's hard to get your mend in your presentation because, that weed is slowing the water down, but then they're on kind of a bit of the faster side.
Yep.
So a hard hatch for most people to achieve, but very fun and very big fish are seen on that. And then the blue wing olive hatch is kind of your late September. You're looking for your days where it's like 31, 32 degrees outside and raining and crappy and nobody wants to go fishing. And that's typically when the blue wing olives are like all over the place.
That's it. That's it. So you have a lot of basically similar hatches throughout the year. But obviously nymphing is a good way to do it. Are you fishing? What's your nymphing setup typically look like? Is this a like dry dropper or what are you doing there?
Yeah, so most people kind of go, the 8 to 9 feet to your first fly, and then add another fly off of that. Some people you can fish 3 flies, so some people will go 2 flies kind of under that. Yeah, it's funny because that changes all the time. It depends, like if you're fishing, say like, pre-stonefly hatch and you're fishing like a big Jimmy legs and maybe you're going down to a worm. A worm's kind of always you should probably have one on. Just
like this,
works.
The San Juan worm or something like that.
San Juan worm, red wire worm's very popular up here. And then people get all fancy with worms but they're worms and
like they're worms.
Yeah, it's like, look at this worm, and it's like it's just a worm.
Right.
Like, under the water, they all look the same. And then you're like hare's ear and your pheasant tail, great staples. Some people love prints. I feel I just don't go there much. What's not a bad or a good thing is just you just got your ones, and
the one your confidence.
Yeah, and then we do get October caddis hatch. It's there. It's a weird hatch because I don't really know how it's like it's just not. It's just random. You just get a random October caddis flowing around. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never figured that one out. I feel like the October caddis it's cool because these are giant, huge caddis, right?
Yeah,
and that's really awesome just looking at them. But yeah, I feel like I don't know. I've never figured that hatch out.
I agree. It's like I've fished some pink hoppers in October with a dropper underneath, and I've got eats on the hopper, and I'm like, is that because it's is that why?
Right.
I mean, like we didn't talk about the hoppers here, but that's probably my favorite time to fish is like that mid-August, hopper season. And you can be hoppers and you can be hopper droppers on a good year.
Yep.
You kind of go dry flies on stones and then you transition into, like a Chernobyl or more of that in between, like a stone fly and a hopper pattern. And then you fish that and it still works. And then, you might need to put on a dropper a few days and then you switch into a hopper. And then the best years, it's like you just see that hopper out right till the end of October and it's working.
Oh, right. Yeah, you just fish it out. Is it throughout the summer, do you guys, right in the peak, is it ever too hot there or is it pretty much perfect throughout the summer on the weather?
So I think it's perfect. About 5 years ago, they implemented, our version of hoot owl.
Yeah. Oh, they did. So yeah, so you had that. Yeah.
But it's now opinion here, but it's like, was it warranted? I don't know. It's funny because they said, here's so the first year they implemented it, obviously they activated it because it's like kind of here's what we can do.
Yeah.
And with that, it was funny because it's like, if we activate it, it goes in for 14 days and it can only be implemented from July till end of August. And here is the rubric for what's needed. It's like it has to be sustained at 67 degrees for 3 straight days, but they're measuring like 90 miles downstream of where most people fish, and so it's like I just think there needs to be. I'm all 2 things. I don't think I'm all for it, but I think they need to have more correct data.
Yeah, the data.
Right. And I read a report someone in Idaho wrote about it, and I think this is really fun to note. It's like when the water's too warm. Okay, so say you go out, so inflated numbers, but on a guided day, say just for easy math, we catch 100 fish on good water temperatures, 63 degrees, 100 fish. They say catch and release has like a 5% mortality. 5% of those fish die. So me and you have killed 5 fish today.
Yep.
And we're gonna go out tomorrow and we're gonna kill 5 fish, just the way it is. Now, if the water temperature goes higher and mortality raises to 25%, Okay. But the other thing is when water goes higher, warmer, fish are inactive. So you're not catching them, right?
Right. I guess.
And so we're not going around flossing and snagging fish. We're feeding fish. And if they're not eating, it's going to be the rare that the fish is caught. So now, hear me out. You can find colder runs because you're like, oh, they're in the riffles. It's colder. And you hook them and you take them into the slow, warm stuff and you kill them, right? Fair. I hear that argument. But if you and I go out and we're like, oh, wow, it's a slow fishing day and we catch 10 and our mortality rate is 25%, we're, 2.5 fish. Like, we're always going to be in that 5 fish range in theory, right? So, that's where Idaho stands on it, is like they're just not implementing it because it self-regulates itself, right?
The numbers of fish.
Yeah. And so I think sometimes, in university, I took biomedical sciences. I spent a lot of time studying like how they do these, testing and stuff. And I just think it doesn't logically make sense, but
yeah,
we've only had it 2 years in a row. But other than that, comparative to some of the, Montana rivers, it's great.
It's not even close.
Yeah. And we're keeping temps. Like, we have thermometers hanging off the side of our boat.
Yeah.
A, for learning, and B, for, and I tell clients, I'm like, if it hits 67 and I'm measuring the top inch of the water, we're done. And everyone's game. They're like, I agree. And that's happened like twice that we've had to like call it. And usually it's at the end of the day anyways, and everyone's tired and we're good to go.
Golden Fly Shop isn't your average fly shop. They have a 12-foot shark painted like a cutthroat hovering over a huge selection of the best rods in the business, a massive assortment of tying materials, and their famous steakhouse streamer display. And it's the hub for a community of anglers who never stop tinkering with new ways to catch fish. Sometimes the conversation behind the counter includes what hatches are going off and what techniques are working best. Then tales of destination fishing adventures, sought-after species, or a good old congratulations when a customer brings stories of finally connecting with that fish they've searched for forever. With a growing online store and a budding YouTube channel, you'll be able to follow along with their fun antics, international adventures, and helpful fly fishing tips. Golden Fly Shop, where the community is hanging out, even if they're supposed to be working. That's goldenflyshop.com. Check them out right now. Yeah, it's interesting because you have obviously somebody's concerned about the fish species, even though maybe they're not all wild. But like you said, you got the dam operators who aren't as concerned, it sounds like, right? So there are some people that are, it sounds like thinking about the river. Like, this is still some people know about it.
I know you had Jim McLennan on.
Yeah, Jim,
his
right.
take was, he's an advocate for, like, because one of the biologists, probably from what I hear them say, is if they could just end guiding, it would save the river. And so I've heard Jim kind of push back on this, where it's like, but that's the people, that's the invested people. Like, because it's my livelihood, it's like, well, and then it's like, well, you guys catch more fish. It's like, fair enough. But for me to catch 100 fish, every one of those fish has been taken time to go back. And because I need this place, right? I want forever my kids to fish here and their kids to fish here, but it's also a livelihood. Whereas, Johnny Shore Angler catches a fish, he drags them up 10 feet onto the grass and gets his 50 Instagram photos and then decides to throw the fish back in the river. Well, that's 100% kill.
Yeah, that's 100%.
That's a dead fish. So you got to care about the resource, but you also have to look at, like, who is the guardians of the resource. And I think it's the guides.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the guides are huge, because without you guys out there, it's going to be crazy. And you're also promoting, you got this kind of interesting thing, right? You're getting more people on the water, which has some impacts, but the more people on the water are being stewards also, ultimately,
100%.
Right? So
they know how to handle a fish now. Brand new, we sit there, we, oh, look, barbless hook. We take it out. We hold the fish. We wait till he swims off. And they're like, wow. And they're wanting to grab it by the gills because that's what Grandpa did on the lake, right? And while you were keeping the fish at that time. And it's like, and now they're like out there fishing and they're stewards of the river, like you said.
Exactly. What's the Thursday Night Live? I think it looks interesting. What is that program? How did that start? How did that idea come up and describe what it is?
Yeah, that's fun. Now we're talking fun things.
Yeah.
So Thursday Night Live fly tying. So back in like 2017 ish, I'd worked for another outfitter. He had a Thursday night fly tying night, and he had wanted to hire me to do some marketing and how can we be more of a presence. And so I live streaming was kind of um sort of there, and like Instagram had live and Facebook had live, but nobody was really doing it, and it was complicated, and equipment was expensive, and software was really expensive to make it work. And so I just kind of thought, you know what, if we showcase the fly tying night just through a live stream, maybe the FOMO is real and people will watch us and be like, I want to go there and see the shop, and I want to go there and meet those people.
Yep.
So did that for, 5 or 6 or 7 Thursdays. And as I was doing it, I was like, man, this is fun. This could be more fun. And personal experience with fly tying nights is when I started tying flies, every time I went to a fly tying night, I felt stupid. Like I couldn't tie flies. I I didn't want to go back because I was like, well, I'm not as good as them, and nobody really felt super welcoming. It kind of felt pretty judgmental, which it's kind of an old school thought of fly shops. People are nervous
Yep.
to go into them and whatnot. I know that's changed a lot.
Right.
And so at the end, kind of that year was when I branched off into becoming my own outfitter, and I just wanted to take this idea and grow with it. And so Tim, who's one of my guides and best friends, and the guy who does the tying on the show, the true craftsman, I just kind of met him at the time, and I was like, you tie flies, and I can't do both. I can't tie and do video. And so I was like, we're gonna go to a brewery, and we're gonna invite everyone, and we're gonna cut up materials, so when people show up, what's the worst thing about fly tying? It's like sourcing materials, cutting materials, finding the right material, and having enough of that material. And eventually when those 4 things, smudge lines, you stop tying, because it's like, oh, I'm watching a YouTube video and I don't have exactly this. I don't tie the fly, right? Or I try to like compensate with some other thing in my... So I was like, okay, we're going to cut the material. We're going to package it. People are free and welcome to come here, and we're just going to have some beers and tie some flies, and I'll live stream it. And so that's how it started. And we were at a brewery, and we would get 4 people and 6 people and 20 people and 50 people. And then the next year we did it again, and it was like a lot of work to cut up and make all these bags, and it was always free, and we just wanted people to be able to come and hang out and tie with us. And then COVID hit, and it was like, oh, cool. I'm sure everyone has a story of pivoting. And I was like, what do we do? Well, we've been live streaming it, which, we would get like 4 or 5 viewers. And I said, well, I'll build a little studio in my basement, and we'll come here and we'll do it, and we'll just keep going. Right. And who knows what COVID is and what it's going to do. So we did that. And the first home show, Tim's sitting behind the vise and I'm behind the camera, and he's like, it's like 5 minutes before 7 o'clock before we go live. And he's like, dude, this feels so weird. Like, what are you doing there? And I'm like, well, you're the tire. Like, he's like, come and sit beside me, because it's kind of weird, right? I don't have an audience. And so I'm like, well, what do I do? And he's like, I don't know, just sit here and hang out. So I jumped into the show, and it was like me and him, and we're just like, hey guys, we don't know what's the future of this. But here we are. We're just going to show up. And, that was back in season 2, and we showed up, and then it became like, we're trying to end the show somewhere in May, and people are like, no, like it's like the Truman Show, right? It's like, we got nowhere to go. Like, what are we going to do if you guys stop doing this? So we kept doing it. And then the next year people were like, can you sell the kits, like make the materials and sell them so we can tie along with you guys? So we did, like 30 kits that year, and sold them out and sent them out to people. And then we started having this online presence. And then we went season 4, and then we built more kits, and we sold more, and went season 5, 6, 7. And we just finished with season 8. And we've built another studio and we've got way too much camera gear. And now the show is a lot of things. And fly tying, we do 2 flies every episode. You can buy the kits and tie along. You could buy the kits 100 years from now and tie along because all of the videos are stored on YouTube. We've taken all of the guesswork out of fly tying, and it's just fun. But the cool part about the show is the community of people that has evolved from it. And, like Kelly at Backcountry Skins, and that's kind of all of that. It's how we brought him on as a guest for one of the shows. And it's like we dress up, we have theme nights, we have, it's just so much more than fly tying. And it's a really fun way to spend, January, February, March. And like a lot of people say, it's like it's such a depressing time, especially when we're all fly fishermen and we love the summer. It's that it's just people look forward to it. And we look forward to hanging out. And, we play what we call Flying Go every show. So it's like a bingo game that I made, and we, play it for free and our sponsors, and we give away tons of prizes. And it's just
sweet.
Yeah. It's the show is growing legs.
Yeah.
And it's like, one guy said, if you try to explain it to someone who doesn't understand, it's not going to work.
They just have to watch it. And the cool thing is it's all there right now. And what's it called if they go to YouTube to find it? Yeah,
so just on our Fly Fishing Bow River YouTube page, and it's pretty much all the content we have is Thursday Night Live fly tying. It's on our website too. It's we call it the most immersive fly tying show in the world.
Cool. So yeah, this thing sounds amazing. So basically, it's on YouTube. And is this the same, or is the podcast different, or is this what part of what the podcast is?
So a lot of people call this a podcast. I think it's a live stream or whatever. It's a show.
That's the interesting thing. The podcasting, has kind of become this gray thing. But technically, a podcast has to have a feed. Right. That's what makes it a podcast, because it's this, which is cool because it makes it like a free public, right? It's nobody can own, you can own your feed, I guess, but anybody can have access to it. That's why a podcast is cool. Where some of these channels, they can take it away. Even YouTube could shut you down if they wanted to. But yeah, so the podcast described that. Where can you find the podcast, or is that a similar thing?
So the podcast, different. So the Fly Fishing Saves Lives, that's on Spotify, wherever podcasts. It's on YouTube too. So that one is a very interesting thing that's hard to kind of do because it's a very sensitive subject. So people who have gone through addiction, have gone through abuse, it's just something, they've gone through something, and fly fishing was the thing that got them out of it. I think there's like 8 or 9 episodes. I've been doing it for like 4 or 5 years, and people want to do it, and then right before it happens they pull out, and I respect it because they're completely becoming open and vulnerable. And I just wanted to share stories of everyday people who have a story to share, and not try to chase the who's who in the zoo, in the fly fishing world, and just let people talk. And it's fun because they tend to be, long conversations. And as we talk through it, it's just like I have a lot of people reach out and just just talking through it was really fun. So yeah, it's cool. And it's a lot. It's a heavy podcast.
Definitely different than the kind of the ops than the Thursday night.
It is.
Right?
Yeah. 100%.
That's it. Wow. That's cool.
But having said that though, like it's actually ties in pretty well because so many people that come to Thursday Night Live, yes, it's fun and it's fanfare and it's goofy, but at the end of every single show we do we call it What's Your Win Now, and this is kind of tying into this Fly Fishing Saves Lives. Is we just hold space for people to share about what's going on in their life and what's their win, like what's important now is what we call it. And we can sit there for an hour and we just let everybody share. We share, and it's a lot of people actually don't get to tune in for most of the show because they're dinner and kids. They tune in for this part because they say that is their favorite part of the show. And so, I mean, it is opposite ends of the spectrum, but there is a lot of that in there. That what's really cool about the Thursday Night Live fly tying is that it means more than just being goofy guys all the time.
Yeah. Right. There's something deeper there. And that just goes back to fly fishing. That's what's cool about fly fishing.
100%.
Right. It does save. I mean, that's the thing. It does save lives. In fact, and we've joked about that over the years, the fact that, we're not out here as a guide or whatever, saving lives, saving babies, right? You're not a doctor and sort of thing. But in some ways you are.
But you are.
Right.
You are.
That's the thing. I feel like you are. And
I've told people that my drift boat is like a 17-foot couch, and, you can go sit at your therapist's office or you can jump in the boat. And I find that the greatest joy of what I get to do is, you just like, it's funny. I was doing a talk at a school yesterday and they asked me like, what are some of your favorite days? They're like, what's a really cool moment? And I can think of these adult men on the boat, and about 3 hours in, we've pulled over. And for 3 hours, they're going through the ringer in life, and they open up and we sit there and they're just like deeply emotional, tears.
Yep.
And nothing to do with the fish. It's to do with the fact that two grown people are listening to one another. And I'm like, those are the days for me that mean something, because, we're not doctors saving babies, we're people. And something about the river and something about fly fishing. And when you just give into the river, I know it could sound floofy and whatever, but it's like, man, it just gets a hold of people. Like I had a guy once, he fished for like 20 minutes, caught a fish, never fly fished before, sat up in the like bow of the drift boat. He's like, do you mind if I just, a 55-year-old man, like not a young kid. It's usually where kids try to sit. Then he goes, do you mind if I just sit here for a bit? And I was like, dude, it's your day. Like, whatever you want. He's like, I don't remember the last time I just sat on a river and did nothing. Like, right. I'm so busy at work and he's like, it's my fault. And for probably 3 hours, he didn't fish. He just sat there and didn't say a word.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, it's your day. And that's what we get to do as guides is, I think a lot of guides are kind of remiss because they force stuff on people. Like, no, you got to fish. You got to do this. It's like,
I know.
Dude, it's not your day. It's their day. And every day is about them. And you had asked a question earlier about how do you switch tactics or do something on those tough fishing day. And I'm like such a firm believer of the 80-20 rule, where it's like 80% of your day has nothing to do with fish. And 20% of your day is fishing. And so as a good guide, who are you in the 80? Yeah. Because we all know tough fishing days don't elude paid everybody. Guides.
Yeah, everybody.
They are what they are. And now it doesn't mean you can negate knowing anything about fishing, but I can promise you that the people who come back year after year for my guides, who are like even some of the newer guys, all their people are coming back. And it's like, man, you've already got like 40% return clientele, and last year was your first season. Like, that's unbelievable because they care about the people in the boat. And that's literally the magic.
Yeah, that's it. How do you, with your team, your 7 or 8 guys there, are you guys all in a sim? I'm guessing you probably talk about this stuff. This probably comes up a decent amount as far as like, I guess that ethos, right? Are you guys all on the same path here with what you're describing here?
Yeah, so our ethos is love people, catch fish, and in that order. And I think that's, back to the hockey background, it's like you can have a culture, but if your team's not in that culture, like the culture is, and the players or the teammates or the worker, whatever you want, it's like they gotta be a part of that culture. So if they're not a part of the culture, they probably wouldn't want to be around here, right? Like it's just, it would sound stupid and goofy, and that's fine, 100%, because I know I've watched them, and I can put you with any of our guys, and you're going to have that experience. Now, everyone's different. Everyone has different fishiness, and everyone has different tactics, and everyone has different personalities completely. But at the end of the day, you're going to walk off that boat feeling like the most important person in the river. And that's why they come back, because they're like, wow, that guy took care of me. The me side of things, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be that's what makes the really good guides, the good guides out there, is that they know when to when to talk, when to,
100%.
right, let people sit on your boat, on your bow of your boat for 3 hours, right? You just kind of know, instead of sitting there being that, like, you have to talk. And when I guided, I think that's what I struggle with. That's what made me not a good guide is, I just never felt comfortable or, whatever it was, but I feel like the good guys are just meant for it, and
Yeah, they just know how to, well, it's just the people first. Like you're just, and when you get fish focused, well, guess what? They lose a fish. Guides get mad. I hear them out there and they're like, what do you, it's like, hear me out, dude. I know the Instagram photo would have been great for your ego, but it's his first time or whatever. Like, even if it's not his first time fishing, he lost a fish and you coached him through it. And,
and he learned.
And it's like, man, we just sit and celebrate. Like, I always tell clients, like, we get a fish if they're new. And it's like, you don't know what you just did. Now, if I were to tell you this, that, jump in my side by side, we're going to drive out to the trees. We'll go for a walk into the forest. Okay. And I've got a fly rod. And on the end of it, I have a green piece of yarn, not grass, but fake grass, looks like grass, sort of. And there's a deer eating. And I have to sneak up, present this green piece of yarn to the deer, and the deer has to come over convincingly and eat it. And then I catch him. I'm like, you would think I'm crazy, but this is literally what we just did. Right? Yeah. But it's like, oh, that sounds impossible. I'm like, well, what you just did seems impossible sometimes.
That's pretty awesome. That's it. Is the hockey culture is what describe that for somebody that doesn't know hockey very much? I always go back to Gretzky because I feel like he's Gretzky. I always go back to the Michael Jordan analogies, right? Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time, but then you have LeBron James. Yeah. You got these other guys. Describe, maybe first take it back just real quick on the hockey culture. What is that like? Is it similar at all? Is it more laid back or is it like hardcore? What is it like?
Well, we've just opened another podcast on the hockey culture. I personally, before I say anything, I wouldn't change it for the world. And I know if what existed back then existed today, there'd be a lot of people in jail and fired and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, having said that, we can agree things have changed.
Yeah, it's changed.
But it was hard. Like I remember, at 15, I moved away from home to pursue my dream, and I moved out to the West Coast to Victoria, and I was just like, this is me, and I'm scared, and I'm young, and I'm like,
15,
and like I have, a 17-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old son, and when they were 15, I was thinking like,
yeah,
this
no
is
way.
You leaving, and A, you're not ready, and B, I'm not ready to let you go. And so at the time, it's just kind of what you did. And so I went out, and it was cutthroat. It was not, you weren't coddled. And so probably built up a lot of resilience for me. And, then I came back to Alberta and played 4 more years in junior. And it was like, I just remember the one coach saying, like, you're not good enough to be here. You'll never be good enough to play in this league, and you should go somewhere else. And I was like, no, I am, but at 16, I'm having this chat with a man who, wasn't kind, but he stayed on it. But the thing you realize is like your teammates, your brotherhood, it was hard. Yeah.
Was that guy doing that? Was that coach doing that to try to make you better, or was he?
No, he's just straight up an idiot.
Yeah,
like, honestly, he just I didn't enjoy him.
No.
He just didn't know how to coach, I don't think, but I think he genuinely thought it wasn't good enough. And then the next couple of years, and I'm leading the league in scoring, and he's up in the stands like, I brought that kid here.
Right.
It's like, yeah, sure. Thanks.
Right.
But yeah, you go through coaches, and I think it's important, like, to take out of that is like letting your kids, on a tangent, but be coached by other people. And it's not always perfect, but it's good for them. Right. But the hockey culture was hard. It was intense. If you were soft or weak-minded, you did not make it anywhere. Like you'd said earlier in the podcast, something about mindset. And it's like,
mindset.
You gotta constantly say, so what, now what? Like, how do you
get to the next level?
Yeah.
I go back to, again, the basketball, LeBron James, right? He's kind of, the greatest, one of the greatest ever. He's got this podcast. It's called Mind the Game. And I just saw it somewhere out there. JJ Redick and him, and at least the first few episodes. But they're talking about the mind thing and how how to get to the level. And this is obviously the extreme, but they had to give everything, like including their family. Like they just like, hey, if I'm going to be the best, I'm not even going to be, I'm going to have to not even really, forget about the family.
It is.
Right. And that's kind of the way for you. It sounds like that's just professional athletes, right? You have to get to that level.
Yeah, it's very, it's changed a lot. I see players now, they're like, so-and-so's not playing tonight because he's at the birth of his child. And I'm like, man, if you tried to tell your coach that back in the day, he'd just send you down. Like,
that would be it.
What's more important? It's like, well, I guess the birth of your child is the single most important thing. But yeah, there wasn't that compassion, which I'm sure LeBron will talk about. And I'm sure, like, he was coming into the NBA just about the time that around when I got injured and stuff. So it's like he's probably seen the transition of all of that. But I do think that you have to have, the resiliency, and even in guiding, it's like you can go out and have a horrible day and beat yourself up and you can't find fish and people aren't happy and you're doing your best to do all the things and it just didn't go well. And then, and the guys will call, and I'm that person too. So I need people to talk to.
Yeah, right. When it happens. Yeah. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that day?
It's funny because we all get off the river and it's like you call one of the other guides and then you just want to vent, but then your phone's ringing 3 or 4 other times because they're all calling you. And it's like, oh man, so everyone's trying to connect to just vent. Right. And it's not malicious. It's just like, I'm venting and then we listen and then we build each other up. And it's like, and it's fun because, we'll say to each other, like, just remember, it's love people, catch fish. Like, just focus on the people on the hard days. And it is what it is. And I mean, it gets you through a lot of those days. And those guys will come back and be like, man, you were so right. Today was a love people day. Like fish were fish. And, and then their clients emailing me like, oh, we had the best day ever and want to get another day booked with so-and-so. And so having we talked about kind of in the beginning is your group. Like you'd said with your dad, you didn't have that team. And I've also felt that when I started guiding I felt lonely out there. It's lonely. And when you can't figure it out, it's really lonely.
Yeah, when you're getting skunked on a trip and it's like, wow, that was hard for me. That was a hard place to be.
And everyone else is catching fish around you and you're
totally.
Like,
well, then I remember when I talked to Mia Shepherd, we were talking the first time we had them on the podcast, Mia and Marty, and I said that and they laughed. The fact that I put all this pressure of getting skunked and it just ruined my week or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, it does. If you don't have resiliency and last summer was tough for us. We had an insane amount of rain. We lost like 3 weeks in the midsummer, like July, August, which is like prime season. And for all of us to like cancel trips, return money. It's like, oh, this is it. And it beat you up. And it was like, it got to a point last year where in end of September, you were like, I think the season needs to end because like I'm done. But if that's your feeling in July, because you don't have a group of people to vent to and to talk you off a ledge, or to at least just be like, I did all of this, and they're like, I did too, and it didn't work, and don't feel stupid, and we're all on the same page, and it just didn't work, right? Then you have that confidence, like, oh, okay, well, it was just the river, and it wasn't me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's take it out of here. We stick on the hockey as we get. I love going back to the mentors. Who was when you were growing up in hockey? Who was that person? I say Gretzky because I don't know hockey very much, but did you have that one person?
Yeah, I didn't. Like, who did I look up to?
Or maybe it was, yeah, I mean, for you, because you're like on your way to pro level. Did you not have somebody that was, I mean, who were the players that were in the league when you were a youngster,
yeah,
say 15?
Gretzky, Mario Lemieux.
Yeah, Lemieux. Yeah.
Probably, I mean, I loved goalies and I wasn't a goalie, so I don't know how that works. And it's an interesting question. I've been asked a lot. And, my parents were great. They drove me wherever. I never played in any kind of elite streams or, like nowadays kids are on the ice 365 days a year because we've created this culture that if you're not, you can't keep up.
Oh, right. So kids are playing all the time now.
Yeah, and I just think it's supremely unhealthy.
Right.
And so, I played until probably like March, February was the season ended, and I did whatever in the summer. And
You did. You're a normal kid.
yeah, just normal. But as far as like mentors, like you don't really
find. That's pretty interesting. I mean, I guess it makes sense, right? To me, it doesn't make sense because I think, Michael Jordan was my person. I was like, all right, I'm going to be in the NBA and I want to be just like Mike.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that was the basic thing, but it is cool. So yeah, I love talking to elite, essentially pro athletes, right? Because you have that mindset, you had to have it. And I'm sure you've taken some of that into fly fishing.
Huge. Yeah. And turning it into a job and turning it into, what it is. And I see people like, when we do our guide school, and there's some students who come in and you're like, this person has it. Like,
right.
So you can spend enough time in hockey and then coaching and recruiting. And it's like, and it's the mindset, there's the tangibles where it's like, they can go catch fish. It's like, that doesn't mean anything. And the guiding, it's like the intangibles, like, do they have the mindset? Are they going to fall apart on a tough day? Right. Cause there's a lot of pressure. You want to turn around and say, here's your money back. Let's just roll out.
Right.
Cause I suck.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that internal conversation with yourself. So mindset it's just huge in all aspects of life. And it's just a fun thing to explore.
It is. Perfect. Cool, Dana. Well, I think we could leave it there for today. Definitely, this has been a great conversation. We'll be following up with you as we move forward. And I guess we've been, mentioned Backcountry Skins, Kelly, and all the good stuff he has going. We'll be in touch on kind of doing some good stuff this summer. So hopefully I'll be able to get up there and fish with you here in the not too distant future. But thanks again for all your time.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you giving me a chance to talk. And yeah, to the Backcountry Skins boys, we say at Thursday Night Live Fly Tying OQP. And that stands for Only Quality People. Nice. And definitely Kelly and Mike.
Yeah, you guys are it. Cool. All right, Dana, we'll talk to you later.
Okay, thank you.
Hope you enjoyed that one. Hope you had a chance to connect. Definitely was a sweet episode to hear the deep dive on everything. Hope you enjoyed it. Check in with Dana if you get a chance. Subscribe, follow them on YouTube, and follow this, what they've created, this event, more than an event, on YouTube. Their live fly tying sessions and more. I want to give you a heads up. We've got events going all year long as well. We've got our Wet Fly Swing Pro, and we've got a boot camp that's going on. So if you're interested in digging into that, getting some more information, check in with me anytime. Dave at wetflyswing.com. I'll give you the details. This boot camp's going to be a big one. We're launching it very soon. So if you get a chance, you can go to wetflyswing.com/bootcamp and get all the details right there as we go. All right, that's all I have for you. Excited for the big week this week, and hope we'll see you on that next episode. Hope you're having a good morning, good afternoon, or evening. And thanks again for checking in. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Wet Fly Swing Fly Fishing Show. For notes and links from this episode, visit wetflyswing.com.